Hey guys, this is a special video. It's something a little different. I got my little girl here, Ruby. This is me and Ruby's fourth year online, so I'm doing a fan-made story that I had about me and Ruby and how we met. And also, I am going to buy 1,000 of every single firework from the shop. Why? Because I can afford it, for one. And two, I want to be able to have some all year until the next year so I can celebrate a lot of stuff. So we're going to just jump right into this. This story is based off of, in my mind, how I met Ruby in the wild. But how the story starts out is that I eventually have a family. And in this world, horses were able to have magic properties only if they were ridden by a human. So with my family, basically don't want me getting in trouble and stuff like that. They didn't want me to have a horse because they thought I was going to become one of the racers, which eventually that I did. So we had a horse already. Her name was Anime, which come to find out was Ruby's twin sister from the wild. And I had Anime for about a year before I met Ruby at the stop. They were going to put Ruby down because she was too wild. They couldn't control her, and they thought that she had really good strength on her. So they want to use her as a horse carriage puller, or something like of that nature, where she can use her strength to the human's ability. But instead of putting her down, I jumped in, offering pretty much basically my life to tame the horse so that they wouldn't have to, kill her, put her down, stuff like that. So what I did was I brought her home. Of course, my parents were already furious because we already had a horse named Anime, who I tried to attempt to ride as a magic horse in the past. But Anime was getting to the point where she was getting old. I couldn't have her no more. So I eventually let her go into the wild with her now found mate, who is El Diablo. And they eventually have a daughter named Midnight Crystal, who eventually comes back after a few years to stay with me and Ruby and the rest of the horses. But she stays with my sister on my sister's account. I don't have her on this account. But me and Ruby, it took me about maybe a year just to even get onto her on her back because she was so wild. But it took me longer than that to be able to bond. So long story short, I eventually ended up being with Ruby for 4 years. And in those 4 years, it took me half the year to just at least get on her back, and then the rest of that year to build some sort of bond to keep Ruby with me. And then the next 2 to 4 years, the rest of those years that I've had her, it's just been me and her racing, winning competitions. I've gotten offered into a guild before, but I didn't like the guild because of the leader and his harsh training. And so after that, me and Ruby have been a riding partner ever since. And that concludes the story. And also buying 1,000 of every single firework for fun. And I haven't really counted. Well, a little over 1,000. But it looks like I may have spent 100K on these, which I can easily get the money back because of the breeding. But that's my story on how I met Ruby. Ruby was actually a wild horse who was about to be put down because she was too wild. It took me 4 years just to get to the bond where we are now. Ruby's still a sassy little girl as always, and she's the defender of all my horses in the wild. She goes back and forth through the wild. She is retired, but I usually ride her every now and then on AO to raise back breeding taxes and stuff. But as far as she is now, Ruby's actually a really, still really young, but I retired her for the sake of how long we've been friends and stuff together. People always ask me why I love Ruby so much. Well, I've showed you guys before, I think, in a video, but Ruby has stats. Like, you can really tell. Her stats are crazy. But, yeah, that's pretty much where she is. Yeah, so me and Ruby have some things, some issues together. She has participated in a lot of events. My first glitch was done with Ruby. I've had her since the beginning of the account. I've experimented with her, and Ruby actually has a daughter. And yeah, this is Ruby's. This isn't her first child, but this is her official first child to me. And Black Diamond has. She's basically a speed horse. She has a little bit of her mother, but she's really more pointed towards a speed horse. So that's the story about Ruby. This is basically our fourth anniversary and everything. This is her daughter, who I probably don't have a storyline based off of her yet, but thank you guys who are tuned in on my channel. At 200 subs, I will do a $10 iTunes gift card, and keep on racing.